Item 1.14, receive community conversations, school safety. Let's talk about it report.
Dr. Whitley is going to join us this morning. This will be a dual presentation.
All right, good morning, everyone. Last month, we shared a video overview of our community conversations event. It's an event we do about twice a year where we're able to gather input from the community on topics and get their feedback. This was a very great session. We had more than 200 people in attendance, and everyone from law enforcement to board members, teachers, staff, parents, and community members. We discussed the topic of school safety at this first event. And so we committed to everyone in attendance that we would share a full report with the district at large, but we wanted to start this morning by sharing it with you first before we release this report to the entire community and begin to adopt various recommendations submitted by community members and those in attendance. All right. So there were 3 conversations throughout the evening over dinner that we discussed, and we took about 15 to 20 minutes to discuss each of these questions. We really wanted to talk about additional things we could do as a school system. We started out by sharing some of the things we're already doing, but we wanted their input on additional protocols we could have in place as a district. And then we looked at the home life of our students and thinking about how could we partner with our families to also make our schools, help our schools be safe. And then we wanted to think about finally some of the underlying causes of some of these violent behaviors we're seeing, not just in Cumberland, but across the nation. And how can we partner with our young people to reduce these violent acts? So what we've done for the first 2 questions, we've kind of put them in categories based on the feedback that we received from the stakeholders who were there. You have this information on board docs, and there's an even detailed document that breaks it down even further. But when we think about the main categories, we came up with community level efforts that we could do, district level efforts for the school system, exceptional children, home-based efforts, mental health strategies, resources that we can provide to our parents, protocols that we can consider as a district, safety and security enhancements, school level things, and then staff PD trainings. So as we briefly summarize those items, here are some of the school level efforts to consider. And I think it was just great conversations on how we all are part of the solution and how we can make this a community thing where we get everyone involved in helping to keep our kids and young people and staff members safe. And so how can we communicate with the community to show how they can help, whether it's with our School Angels program or, working with the county commissioners to address, nearby locations of things such as smoke shops near our schools, and just thinking about even how we have many military community members who might be good candidates for our School Angels program. So these were great conversations on things that the community could do, even, coming in and mentoring our young people. Next, as we look at school level efforts to consider, just thinking about how can we increase the number of support personnel throughout the school system to really help with some of these things that we're seeing, and things that we can do to partner with our parents to, when we see actions of students, how can we partner with parents to address those? We have a student code of conduct, but what about a parent code of conduct? There were conversations even about recently how we've had an uptick of, parents on school buses and other things, and how can we inform parents really in advance to be fair to them, to let them know the consequences for some of those behaviors. Everyone loves Wellness Wednesday back from the pandemic. Can we bring that back? Also, there was quite a bit of conversation throughout the event. Some individuals didn't know about the See Something, Say Something, and how they can anonymously report items. So there was a list of things, and so these are all things that we're considering at the district level, and how can we implement additional procedures and protocols to support the efforts of school safety. Is not working. Advance to the next slide, please. From the exceptional children's lens, trying to think about some of our students who have special needs, and is everyone trained to respond to them and understand how they may respond to certain situations and how we can support them and have those safety accommodations even in IEPs, and just considering the additional stigma that sometimes students who receive EC services, they can be labeled. And so how can we work with EC to address those issues? Next slide. As we think about the home-based efforts, how can we partner with our families to truly understand the rules? And so we have a code of conduct for our students, but how can we take that a step further and really explain the rules and the consequences for behaviors, and even checking students' belongings and cell phones? We found that a lot of things are being done from the student's perspective on their phones that are provided by their families. And so how can we support that as a district and give parents resources to monitor that activity? And really speaking with parents about how to set expectations and boundaries and support for the district and trust in the district. There are some families who may not trust the district. And so how can we let them know that we're all on the same team working together for the good of the students? Once again, social media activity was a big thing. A lot of students are on social media. There are a lot of accounts that are created, but have we provided the appropriate guidance and support to families to let them know how students can use those items appropriately? Gun owners keeping weapons and ammunition locked up. So once again, a lot of information around support and information and PD for our families to help support them. So some of this stuff, of course, we're already doing, but this was all about how can we enhance that, even in partnership with PTA and other organizations. Mental health strategies, that was certainly a big, major topic. There are a lot of individuals that, not just because of the pandemic, but there was a thought how the pandemic maybe exacerbated some of the mental health challenges that our students, families, and really everyone involved face on a daily basis. And so how can we beef up our interventions and support for our students and their families? And so just really thinking about even having open conversations and dialogue with CCS personnel and really providing the supports where students feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, their concerns around mental health that sometimes can lead to violent acts or threats of violent acts. Thinking about conflicts that, it's a kind of a conflict where some of our students may have to take on an adult role at home, and then they come to the school and then it's just a different environment. And so how can we support those students? And we already have lots of calm corners and other rooms, but we felt like there were some individuals who felt like we could do more of that. So once again, just a lot around supporting the mental health of our students, which can really help with some of the violent acts we're seeing. To go to the next slide. Thinking about parent and family resources. Once again, are there some additional things that we can offer at the district level to support families? Everything from partnering with law enforcement to provide gun locks and mentoring for families, and just tools and resources, and a very formalized PD for parents around school safety and some of the things we're seeing. Also, a campaign around the see something, say something. As we think about protocols to consider, and once again, this is as submitted by the stakeholders, so some of these efforts are already underway and in place. But that notion of a parent code of conduct, and even having possibly parents sign some type of contract at the beginning of each school year, and then adding additional protocols at the school level around safety, but then sharing with families those things that we have done. Should we have clear book bags at all of our schools? Should that be a requirement? And then collecting all electronic devices except for medical reasons at the beginning of each school day, and then giving those back at the end. And so ISS, OSS student complete structured lessons based on behavior. So if they're sent to ISS or OSS, thinking about, are there some other resources we can provide to those students based on the behaviors they've exhibited to support them and help them to improve. Should we beef up the consequences when dealing with school safety to prevent more students from engaging in that behavior? A campaign for countywide safety protocol for hall monitors. And so really thinking about what would that look like and how would we structure that? So once again, lots of protocols to consider at the district level, and some of these are already underway. As we think about safety and security enhancements, there was just a list of things that we can do as a school system district-wide. I think a big major discussion was more cameras and more with audio. And I know Mr. Coleman and his team, they've already shared a lot of things that are underway. So I think that would almost be an immediate response to some of the things that families have expressed and community members. But again, even more SROs, and we know the challenge there sometimes with hiring additional SROs, but that was certainly a strong recommendation. Should we have metal detectors at every school? And once again, a lot of these things we're currently discussing, but it was just refreshing to hear from our diverse community members who had some great ideas around, as you can see on the screen, many additional safety enhancement efforts that we can consider as a school system. As we think about school level things, really honing in on what's being done at the school, perhaps assemblies at the beginning of each year with support personnel, including the principals and other administrators, but counselors, SROs, and safe school coordinators, and just making that a recurring thing. We talk about the importance of good behavior and some of the consequences of, for example, calling in a threat or putting something on social media. There was a thought that if we did that at the beginning of the year, school-wide and district-wide, that may help to reduce some of those challenges. Once again, we see those parent contract participation forms coming up and addressing bullying, monitoring doors. And so once again, a lot of these things are happening, but this is what our community is saying, additional things from their perspective that we can be doing at the school level. Some of the staff PD trainings are listed here. Crisis team trainings, which are happening already, rapid responder trainings, tabletop exercises, and just once again thinking about, based on the things we're seeing, should we think of a structured training PD calendar of sorts to really help support staff members with increasing the safety of our schools district-wide. So the last question was a little different, and so the way it was broken down as we think about it was a two-part, thinking from their perspective as a group, some of the underlying causes of violent behavior in our schools, and a big major focus was the social media. There's so much going on there, and those go viral very quickly. And so how can we really get a handle on that at the district, school, and home levels to support our young people? Bullying and cyberbullying, there's so many instances where you get behind a username, nobody really can understand or know who you are. And so there's a lot of things that you would say online that you wouldn't say to someone's face. And so how can we begin to address that cyberbullying? Undiagnosed mental health issues and other challenges. And so as we look at this list, these are just some of the things that when we think about the why behind some of the violent behaviors we're seeing. Here are some additional suggestions or thoughts about the underlying causes of these violent behaviors that we're seeing across the country. So specifically, the question was asked, well, what can we do to specifically address our students and support them to reduce these violent acts? And so everything from restorative justice, which is already taking place, student monitors, thinking about a possibility of a different type of alternative school, and just making sure everyone understands the resources, but even more so understands the consequences for the actions. There was a thought that when you put something on Facebook or you send a text message, everyone doesn't really know the consequences for those actions. And so how can we communicate that to our students? Anonymous survey for students to share their concerns and peer groups and inviting in inspirational speakers and really just building those relationships with our families. So after doing all of this, our goal is to share this report with the community, but we also wanted to share what they've done, but then we also wanted to have Mr. Coleman and his team be able to share as well that we're listening, we've heard you, but also we have a lot of things that are already underway that we're considering that align with what you're requesting. So at this time, Mr. Coleman, we'll share some of the things we're currently doing as a school system as it relates to safety and security.
I won't go into great detail because I have brought these items to you in the past, but we wanted you to look at the concerns that our stakeholders brought to us, and then really how the products that we're already looking to implement really answers that question very nicely. First of all, we're continuing our security assessments. We did our first round and spent about $5 million. We're going back now and taking a look at any sort of hardening of our facilities in any way, both inside and out. And we're continuing to work on that now, and we'll continue to go forward. And that's going to be an ongoing process. That's just something that not only security assessments from our group, but we want to take a look at all kind of entities that we can do voluntary audits of our processes and practices. And so if we identify areas that we can improve, we certainly will continue to do that. You see, say something, anonymous reporting system. Lindsay, Dr. Whitley has already spoke to this before, but we did hear over and over that people didn't know about this. So it's been out there, it's being used. We have so many tips, but we hear parents going, we were not aware of this. So we're going to look at a harder line of communication and really taking a look. And this has sparked us up to all the things that we have been letting people do. We need to come up with a steady way to come up with a standard reminder as we go about the things that are here. We have new families coming in and so forth. We want to make sure we keep them up to speed. Our visitor management, we spoke pretty in depth about that. We're in the process of putting that in now. I think that's going to go a long way, really with helping us lock down our schools. And we saw this kind of in different ways, threads throughout the feedback that we've gotten. Security camera upgrades, I already spoke of that as well. Just knowing that security camera now, just a really brief reminder that eventually, once these get up to speed, we'll be using artificial intelligence, which you've heard a lot of that coming up recently. You can use both non-biomedical, like anybody with a gray suit on, it can come up on the cameras in the whole building, or anybody with a blue striped shirt, anybody will come up. Or we have your face in a database because you're scanning. We can find individuals in a building immediately. So that's something that, and it does so many other things, but that's just one of the things that our security cameras is going to really help us improve, and it'll address what we were glad to hear it was important to our families as well. We have a rave panic button coming from the state. When it comes, in case something does happen, it's a one-stop shop that you just hit a button, and it gives all kinds of information to first responders, admin in the building, and so forth. So these are going to, this is something that we'll be putting in place as well. But these are just some of the things we're working on. But this list is now giving us a priority, or giving us a list that we're working on prioritization and addressing as we go. So just wanted to share those things with you as well. Be happy to take any questions or comments, concerns you may have.